he has spoken on the topics faith, family and freedom in Cuba, Belgium, Brazil, Congo, UK and all over the USA to crowds from 14 to 40,000. International leadership speaker, trainer and coach. Author of Learn to Raw Leadership, Attitude Hack, Live a More Excellent Life, 5 Battle Strategies of a Victorious Warrior. 2021 President's Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. Founding partner of the John Maxwell team. Toastmaster International Speech Competition semi-finalist. Founder of Tell It Like It Is TV, ThatGuyRocks.com and ThatGuySpeaks.com. Creator of Story Power TV, Transforming Grace TV, and Leading Leaders Podcast. Producer of 4 TV programs and podcasts for Liftable TV and World Trumpet Television as well as multiple social media channels. Please help me welcome J. Loren Norris.
You know, according to Einstein, today's entire lesson would be a contradiction in realities, but it's not. No, it's not. It's really not. I want to point out that what you did to get to where you are is a really firm foundation for what you need to do to get to where you're going. And if you change horses in the middle of the race, you're probably going to find yourself without a horse. That's what I want to talk about in this episode of Leading Leaders. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom. I'm J. Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast, and I can tell you there are a whole lot of people who have worked on their success, worked on their future, worked on their opportunities, worked on their relationships, their education, their preparation, their skill sets for decades and never been noticed. Nobody knew that's what they were doing. But somewhere along the way, they witnessed somebody else who seems like a runner coming out of the woods near the end of the race, and it seems so unfair. In fact, there's a whole victim mentality that says we all start the race at a different place, and while there's some truth then that others have advantages, and the college was paid for by their parents or opportunity was laid out in front of them, all of those things can be true. I mean, you know what? Life is not fair. It wasn't fair for me. I grew up on food stamps and potato soup, the only son of a single mom, a molestation victim at 9 years old. We can stack victim cards all you want to. The only one I don't have is the race card and the female card. But if you want to look at life and say, what does it take to succeed? If you find yourself running down that path towards your success and suddenly out of nowhere, it appears there are all these other people on the same path to success, and oh my gosh, they're ahead of me. They're running faster than me. They're going the same direction I am, but they've got a lead on me. What do I do now? It's very tempting to say, I'm going to abandon the course that I'm on, and I'm going to jump on the course that they're on. Whatever has made them rise to stardom out of the dark, they came from nowhere, and then poof, here they are. It's really easy to get the mindset in ourselves that if I simply stop what I'm doing and start doing what they're doing, then I'll be successful. It can't be farther from the truth. It's a painful truth to admit that an overnight success, yes, I almost messed that up, an overnight success almost never happens overnight. An overnight success almost never happens overnight. I've heard it from the mouth of T.D. Jakes, from John Maxwell, from Nick Vujicic. The list goes on, of all of those that I would look at and say, I want to be on stage in front of the size of crowds that they're in front of. I want to be doing what they're doing. I want to be as successful as they are. And the reality is they got a head start on me. Was it because they cheated? No, it's because they've been doing what they're doing a whole lot longer than I've been doing what I've been doing. They may have started earlier in their life. They may have had inspiration and motivation and the gumption to say, I'm going to do this way earlier in life. I know when I published my first book and it hadn't sold 3 copies yet, there were several people that came to me and said, great job, I'm jealous of your success. I'm like, I haven't sold any books yet. Why would you call that success? And one of them, who was working on his doctorate's degree at the time, looked at me and he said, well, frankly, You've applied the discipline, you've done the research, you've spent the hours to write and publish a book. I haven't done that yet. That puts you way ahead of me. Well, now he's got his doctorate's degree and he's the dean of a recognizable university. I think he's way ahead of me. But the reality is there are things that you're going to do along the way that have to do with developing the who that you are. They're about your character. It's the groundwork that you've got to do. As has been said by many, many boxers and athletes, it's not what you do in front of the spotlight that makes you successful. It's what you do when nobody's looking. It's the books you're reading. It's the conversations you're having. It's the learning that you're committing to. It's the discipline of your own character, your own behavior, your own mental well-being. Those are the things that lead to success. The boxers will tell you it's all about the road time. Oh yeah, you got to get in the ring, you get your head banged around a little bit, and you got to learn to throw a punch and take a punch. But if you're not out there with your jump rope, if you're not out there running the steps in front of the statue in Philadelphia, if you're not doing that work when the sun is down and nobody's looking, success isn't going to hunt you down. It is simply not going to happen. But I'll tell you what will happen. Somebody else that appears jumps out of the woods and onto the roadway half a mile ahead of you, and they're running toward the same race that you're running toward, and you're thinking, how did they find that shortcut? Oh, it wasn't a shortcut. They've probably been lost in those woods for a minute. They've probably run 10 times further than you did on the road you're on. They've been putting in the dark hours. They've been up before dawn and stayed up way past dusk to be able to accomplish what they've accomplished. And so the first misunderstanding is that their success has come overnight out of nowhere, and that if you follow the path to their stardom, that you will get your own stardom, that you can mimic their successes and have your own success. And that's myth number one. You can't follow their path, you have to follow theirs. Now, there are some things that you can mimic that they have modeled. Then once you master them, you can multiply their successes. That is true in some skill sets. But chances are the path that you're on to succeed in life is not the same path they're on. The destination may look like the same. There are many ways to get to Miami. It really depends on where you start. If you start in Albany or Albuquerque, your path to Miami looks entirely different. And if you're coming through the panhandle of Florida wondering, why don't I see anybody else on this journey? Am I on the wrong path? How come everybody else came a different way? Well, it's because nobody's going the same route that you're going. You have a different path than them. I think the biggest challenge for most of us is thinking that their way to success is your way to success, and it simply isn't. There are a couple of other myths that go along with this, and another one of those myths is that I need to figure out what I'm doing wrong. And there's some truth to that. You've got to grow you up. You've got to be the best you. You've got to have the best character. You've got to have the best ideas. You've got to have the best thought processes. Because it's easy to abandon your thought processes. Again, to look at somebody else's stardom and think, if I just do what they're doing, if I'm on the same highway with them, I'm going to get there. No, there are things that life still wants to teach you. Things are going to require you to get up in the dark all on your own and work on you. And as you do, you're going to realize that what you're designed for, what you're fit to do, is different than what anybody else is designed for, different than what anybody else is fit to do. And you've got to work on you. You can't work on them. You got to work on you. And what worked to make them better might not work on you. The skill sets that they had to master, maybe you already had them naturally. Maybe you're already a natural communicator, but you have a real problem with humility. That would be me. Maybe you're a real thinker and you already read a lot, but you just don't believe in yourself. Well, that would be me. Maybe you've written tons and tons and tons of material, but none of it's organized in a way that other people can think through it and make sense of it. That would be me. And my journey has not looked like a lot of other people's journey. My path to success is still way out there in the distance. I think right now I could cover it up with my thumb from here. But if I give up on the journey that I'm on, the persistence that I've put into it up to now, I can't shortcut that foundation. See, that's myth number two, that I can skip past all the road work. I can skip past all the hard work. I can skip past all the time necessary. Think it through. Most people who have quote unquote overnight success will tell you it took 20 years to experience that overnight success. They appear to have jumped out of the woods onto the road ahead of you, but they've been working on this for a minute, and so will you. And what's really going to happen is you're going to pop out some point when all your principles and your character and your moral values and your core values are so well established that nobody can knock you off the running path. And at that point, you're going to pop out onto that road to success close enough to be able to see it and see the lights shining and the doors open. And when you get there, you're going to think to yourself, wow, I've just shortcutted the whole process. How did it happen so fast? I was listening to a fascinating interview between Dr. Jordan Peterson and the man known as Oliver Anthony, a man who apparently appeared out of nowhere. Everybody looks at him and they're like, he's got record contracts, he's got record offers, he's turning people down left and right, he's accidentally performing in front of audiences of 12,000 on a regular basis and has more of them booked, but he's also turning down $8, $20, $15 million contracts left and right. Who is this superstar? Where did he come from? And how do I mimic his success? And then there were a whole lot of people looking at it. And Oliver said, I'm not sure that I want a crowd larger than 12,000, because the last one I had that was 12,000, the meet and greet time was 4.5 hours. Now, your average superstar would tell you, if I'm performing in front of 12,000 people, maybe 100 get to shake my hand and say hi. The rest of them, they're audience members. The fact that simply his character said, I want to have a meet and greet with as many people as I possibly can. I want to meet as many humans as I can. He said he's got 35,000 unread emails from people that are not, hey, I love your music kind of emails. They're life story. This is how you have impacted my life kind of emails. He's making a difference. He's changing people's lives. That's what he wants. He doesn't want the stardom. He doesn't want all of that. But when you listen to this interview, you hear him say things like, yeah, I took the life authoring class like 3 years ago. I've been studying music all of my life, studying some of the greatest, my heroes. And he went down a list of them, and you're thinking, holy cow, your heroes are like 85 years old now. Some of them are gone. Why would you be studying them? You're not going to learn the best way to crack the algorithm or what time and day to post your social media to become famous. Not from those guys. They didn't know what Facebook was. They didn't know what Spotify was. How could you possibly learn from them? But what he learned was the art form of his discipline. How to play his guitar, how to sing from his heart, how to be who he really was, how to deliver his art to the hearts of people. That's the road work, my friend. That's reading the greats if you want to be an author, not just writing on your own and thinking, look what I've done. It's not comparing yourself necessarily, it's looking at the path that they've been on and saying, what could I learn from it to apply to the path that I am on? Finally, there's a myth that says that I won't have to do all the work if I just have the advantages. If I figure out how to play the game, if I figure out who the right connections are, then I won't have to do all of that myself. There's a reason that we have artificial intelligence and software programs and algorithms and all these things. And all of those are tools. And all of those are tools that could make your life easier. And all of those are tools that could change the way you play the game and change the impact that you have in the world and multiply and magnify. But understand this, just like changing horses mid-race, when you apply certain tools, those tools come with rules. And those rules, they might exact a high price from you that you're not aware of. They might exact a high price from you that you're simply not willing to pay. They might require of you, demand of you, that you give up some freedom in your creativity, that you abandon some values that you hold dear, that you walk away from some of the foundations that you have spent all this time building. I know many people who've moved into levels of leadership where suddenly their faith was no longer acknowledged. Moved into levels of leadership where the acknowledgement of their faith was not only frowned upon, but was a terminable offense. You can be removed from your job if your faith becomes obvious. Well, you've got decisions to make at that point. You're going to have to decide, is it more important to find that road to success where you can see the shiny lights and the open doors, or is it more important to hold on to your faith? That's a decision you're going to have to make. And when I say trading horses in the middle of the race, that's part of what I'm talking about. If you have to abandon friends and family because they're not beneficial to your life, because they bring too much drama, because they're constantly a problem, they're preventing you from becoming who you're designed to be and leaving the impact and influence in the world that you were made for, then that's a pretty tough process, but it's necessary. If simply changing the tools that you use, the relationships that you have, the contracts, the vendors that allow you to move forward to your success, if that causes you to abandon your family, your friends, your faith, your foundational belief system, maybe it's the tools that should be in question. If the tools come with rules and the rules violate your conscience, find another tool. And yeah, you can apply that tool to people or mechanisms. It's totally up to you. But if the tool comes with rules and it causes you to change your core values, to decentralize yourself from what got you where you are, that's a recipe for disaster. Anybody can become the most successful by simply playing the game. It's been proven over and over in politics, in Hollywood, in music. You could take a catfish and make them successful. We know there's a sim out there, a created human that doesn't exist, who has marriage proposals, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of suitors who would love to spend the rest of their life with this character. A completely artificial personality, a completely artificial character. Even the images of this individual have no more reality than a Barbie doll. But there are those who have said, I like this tool, I like what it offers me, I like what it provides me, I like the comfort that I feel, I like the conversations that I have, and I will change the rules in my own life to play the game this tool requires. That's a fool's errand. And if your success is surrendered to the backside of tools, you're on a fool's errand. If you found yourself, on the other hand, at that place where you're looking at your life and you're saying, I've accomplished quite a bit, and yet I know I still have a bit more to accomplish. I've invested a lot in my character, in my learning, in my maturity, in my growth, in the way I treat people around me, both friends and family, and also strangers. I've become a better person to all of them. I've studied to show myself approved, that I understand and I know and I'm competent in my area of expertise. I haven't reached the stardom that I want yet, but I have invested well in it. Don't abandon that track. Don't give up on all the things that you've invested in. Don't walk away from everything you've invested heart, mind, soul, and money into to become, just so you can reach the stardom a little bit faster. Those shortcuts, they're not going to pay off. Changing horses in the middle of a race, probably going to find you in the middle of the track getting run over by everybody else. Serving the tool, regardless of the rules, that could cost you everything. But if you will hold on to the character that you built to this moment, allow the character that got you to where you are, the disciplines that got you to where you are, the process that has gotten you to where you are, the relationships that has gotten you to where you are, if you allow those things to play out with patience toward the progress, you're going to find your success is a whole lot sweeter when you get it and you realize this was my reward for everything that I put into this. I didn't shortcut to get to the front of the line. I didn't cheat. I didn't play the system. I didn't play the game. I did the right thing. And I'm now enjoying the reward. That's a whole lot better. Trust me, I've had tomatoes right off the vine from my grandfather's garden that we dug the dirt, we pulled the rocks, we pulled the weeds, we planted those tomatoes, and they were the size of your head, and they were sweet, and we cut them up in big thick chunks and cover them with a little bit of vinegar and sugar. Oh, it was a meal. One tomato was like a meal. You could barely eat the whole thing yourself. I've also been to the grocery store to buy those little ones that they've covered in red wax to make them look like they're fresh and ripe, and you cut into them and they're squishy and gooey on the inside like a overripe watermelon. I know the difference between tomatoes that are homegrown, that are cared for, and tomatoes that are the process result of a factory. Trust me, as a leader, those people around you, they'll know the difference between homegrown leadership that has been nurtured and invested in and fertilized and cared for and weeded and watered over leadership that is created and manufactured by the tools and the algorithms. How you care about people will be evident. Dance with the one that brung you. If the character and the discipline that got you to where you are today is still in you, hold on to that and double down. That will be your path to success. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.
Loren is a master teacher on storytelling, and I learned so much. I'm really going to have to sit down and go back through everything, and I think I might have to have some more coffees with Loren, but it was totally worth my time, and I really highly recommend it if you're looking to grow your ministry, grow your business, grow your career. Loren will serve you well.
Thank you.